Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here with the Ceccoli Tarot. So, Honey over at Fierce and Pretty was talking about decks that surprised her. And in the comments, I mentioned that the Ceccoli Tarot was one that initially kind of repulsed me. But I got a mini version and gave it a try, and to say I connected with it wouldn't quite be accurate, but it was giving me some very straight answers, very, very honest answers. So, in which I could recognize the truth that was being told in them. And so in the end, I kind of had to admit that despite its creepiness and I don't even know what else, disturbing, I guess would be the other word, some of the disturbing images in it, that it had some value for me. This is a low Scarabeo deck, and the mini version is teeny tiny, and so I eventually let that go. And I let it go in part because of the practical issue there, but then I also thought, well, if I feel like I then want it after I'm without it for a while, then I'll just get the regular size version. And I ended up getting the regular sized version eventually. So I was talking about that, and then Brania from, I think it's Brania Spiritual, her channel, she mentioned that she was thinking of getting the Ceccoli, and she was wondering what I used it for. And so I let her know about the, thinking that it was pretty good at calling out the truth of a situation, and I had also used it for the female perspective in relationship readings, but I'm not doing much of that these days. And so I hadn't had the Ceccoli out for quite some time. I would kind of consider it and then think, no, X deck would probably be better for the situation I'm looking into at the moment. But it gave me the idea of getting it out and just putting it through its paces and seeing what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and this is going to be quick readings, but I'm going to do a couple of different readings. At the very least, I'm going to do a relationship reading. And, maybe the type of reading that's, that's more about the self, self-information. And then maybe a career, and then maybe a very quick money. And we'll just see. We'll just see what happens. I've already shuffled. I'm not going to shuffle each time. We're just going to pull cards, and we're going to see how it reads. And I'm not going to, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to relate to the answers or not. What I'm looking for is if I get completely stumped, and stumped in a way that indicates that the deck probably isn't a good reader for that subject. But, I can get stumped on readings at any time. Almost more so, if they had to do with myself. And, so if it's the kind of stumped that I think is just me not quite getting something in the moment, I'm not going to fault the tarot for that. And how I distinguish between those two different kinds of being stumped, I couldn't probably elaborate any more than I just did. It would take some serious analysis on my part. So we're going to start with 5-card relationship spread, something that I called a troubled relationship, but it would work just as a relationship checkup in general. So number 1 is what makes you happiest about the relationship. And this is the 10 of Cups, and it kind of shows the girl riding an elephant, and they seem to have navigated an obstacle course of toys. So I would see this for that question, what makes you happiest about the relationship? That this person will carry you through difficult situations, or that you will stick together through difficult situations. So there's number 1, and I'm not going to put this in any particular spread shape or anything. What binds the two of you together? Okay, so here we have the Queen of Wands. And you have this girl with a dragon coming out of her skirt and flaming what looks like a young troubadour. So since this is what binds the two of you together, you know, it could be conflict going back and forth. If you wanted to go into a darker interpretation for this, it could be that you both hate or hate is maybe too strong a word, you both have a tendency to flame the male person in the relationship, which would mean that that person has their own negative attitude toward themselves. In other words, they have hateful self-talk, and that the female partner is confirming that by also expressing anger and criticism toward the male partner. So kind of reinforcing his own negative attitudes towards himself or something like that. However, so that unhealthy dynamic could be binding the two together. However, another way I could see this, and when it first came out, that's how I was seeing it, is that the two of you dislike the same thing. Okay, so it's the things that you dislike and get angry about that binds you together. So I know couples for whom certain opinions are strong binders for them. You know, that they both hold the same opinion about certain things in life, and that is a strong thing that binds them together. So the next card, what are you holding on to or hoping for in the relationship? Well, this is interesting. The Two of Wands. Self-love. In this particular deck, at any rate, it appears to be self-love. So it could either be that you're hoping that your partner, well, I'll just say this, you're hoping that the relationship is going to give you greater self-esteem, okay, which is not the best expectation in a relationship, but there it is. You could also be hoping that your partner and you will begin to mirror each other, that you'll become more and more the same, and and that things that are dividing you will go away. But clearly it indicates that the expectation is that the partner will become more like you rather than you becoming more like the partner, is how I would take that. Number 4, what aspect needs to change? And here we have the Queen of Swords, which in this deck is very much about writing and communication. She's got pages flying out from her, and there's a rider kind of in the distance taking her messages, and so she's just communicating. So either the kind of communication that's going on in this relationship or the frequency of communication in the relationship needs to change. All right, so what needs to be spoken or expressed? The Ace of Cups. So you have this girl with a bunch of little dolls that are exactly herself. I don't know, so you could see this as the different parts of oneself. That's often the way I see this card, is that she's embracing the different parts of herself. They all look the same, and yet they're all individual. To me, what I'm thinking as I'm looking at this is the way she's holding on to them, and maybe what needs to be expressed is what is precious, that each person needs to express what is precious to him or herself. But it still seems to be what is precious to him or herself about him or herself. So the man would say what's precious to him about himself, and the woman would say what's precious to her about herself and what she's wanting to hold on to. So it might even be the kind of conversation in which you just say what you're not willing to compromise on, and go from there. So that's what I would do. That would be the relationship. That's how I would do. And that was not particularly difficult. So, but we didn't get any of the super disturbing cards either. So we'll keep going and see if it gets more disturbing. So I just have a bunch of spreads here. We'll do a self-knowledge spread. How about that? And then we'll see. Maybe then we'll try one with a little less I don't know. I was going to say, a little less formed. I could just do like a 9-card spread and just interpret it. In other words, something without positions. Alright, so let's try this self-knowledge spread. Okay, what is something eternal and constant about you? This is interesting because, well, it's the Hermit, so how appropriate. Alright, so it just nailed me, yes. But it's spiraling inward and inward and inward, and there's a larger one and a smaller one. Whoops, there's a larger figure and a smaller one that's identical, that's on the same track. Actually, it's on the outward track. So you could take that however, but the Hermit, and again the inward spiral on the shell. Fair enough. Number 2, the direction you are growing in. Alright, so here we have a rose that is surrounded by a fortress, but there's a little rabbit there with a key, and there is a little slot in there for the rabbit to open the door to the fortress, although he's holding it behind his back. So what I see this as, the direction you're growing in, is unlocking the fortress, and inside the fortress there's a bit of a maze. So I just take that as letting other people in more, or giving people the key to your inner self, but letting people in some regard. This could even be literal in terms of, we've been in COVID, and I'm guessing that I'm not the only one who wasn't real keen on having a lot of people in the house, and I have work that needs to be done in the house, and so eventually I will be literally opening the house. So what's next? 3, something hidden about you that you treasure. Well, we could probably take the whip out of this. This is the Knight of Cups. And I'm going to go with the image more than the fact that it's a Knight of Cups. I mean, you can see the Knight of Cups as a seeker. I'm not sure that I see myself. I would have seen myself a little bit more as a Knight of Wands in terms of the adventurer aspect. But that was in the past. And even when I looked at this, given the question, which is something hidden about you that you treasure, to me this would be my my years working with horses, which, you know, nobody on this channel has any idea about unless I've mentioned it occasionally, because it hasn't been a part of my life for a long time. But it was a part of my life for several years as a teen and into just barely into my 30s. Not much past that though. Something you need to bring into the light and share. I'm not sure what this is. One that's going to have me stumped. This is the 4 of Wands, and it just shows this girl. Again, I tend to read images, so to me this has nothing to do with the house. You know, I have just talked about the house with this card. But this, to me, this image has nothing to do with a house. It's a bunch of lollipops and a girl who has an insect on a leash. And she's running with the insect. She's got her eyes closed. She doesn't look particularly pressed. I could see it this way. Let me look at the question again. Something you need to bring into the light and share. It could refer to psychopomp work. I don't know what else it could refer to, so I'm going to leave it at that. And the last one, a gift you give the world. Oh, it's the Lovers. So, and this one, you know, depending on how you feel about snakes, she has a snake winding up there. So it's like Eve in the apple tree. And she and the snake are buddies. To me, even though this is the Lovers card, I think that there are some images that are disturbing in a sexual nature in this deck. I actually wouldn't consider this one of them. Yeah. Other people might, though. Other people might. I think it depends on your attitude towards snakes. But it's about choices. So there was that whole Adam and Eve choice thing. But I'm not going to read too much into that. I suspect a gift you give the world is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm helping people see the potential of the Ceccoli Tarot as a match for them. So to me, that's a very literal about what I'm doing in this moment. You know, other than my other unboxing or my reviews and stuff like that, I don't do unboxings, but that's the only other reference. I don't see myself as doing any matchmaking, and I don't see myself as, I do relationship readings, but I haven't been doing them very much lately, so I'm not, if that's a gift I give the world, I'm not giving them very many gifts at the moment. So what's another There's a money reading that I do that is very easy. It's spending, savings, investing. One card for each one of those. So let's just look at that. Spending. What to spend on. 3 of Cups. So again, that's easy. What to spend on. Getting together with friends. That it is worthwhile to spend some money getting together with friends. Saving suggestions. Here we have the 4 of Pentacles. It's a bit of a Dali-esque, or maybe it's Escher. Maybe it's more Escher-esque. Image where you have the girl here, and then you kind of have a, if I can hold it correctly, a mirror image of the building, and then you have a person with a dice head here. One of the weirdnesses of the deck. So there's the mirroring aspect, savings. But you also have kind of a romantic aspect with these 2 different figures. It could be saving up to visit somebody at a distance. You know, in my case, it might be saving up to move. In other words, to set up house. If we forget about the romantic aspect, just to switch to, to move, to go from having your house set up here to having your house set up in another location. That's what I can come up with for that. And an investing suggestion. And here we have the Knight of Pentacles, and this is one of the kind of disturbing images. So once again, if she's writing something, she seems to have a whip. The bunny, she's on a bunny rabbit. And this bunny rabbit is much the worse for wear. There are places where it looks cut. One of the eyes has come loose. On the floor, there's a little heart lollipop that says, "Hate me." So, yeah. So how do we interpret that? Investing suggestion. You know, you could turn it around and say that, you know, obviously she needs to invest in repairing her bunny and to stop abusing it. So investing in a financial sense, you know, is putting the money away so that it will grow. So it's a little different from saving, because this is saving and it has a shorter term purpose. But investing can also be about investing in something that will eventually give you some gains. So if I divorce myself from the emotional impact of the abused bunny, the abused bunny could be my car. So that's a longer term type of, well, both of these are longer term. This one's harder to make fit. It's almost more of a saving, but to me it would be investing as a sort of repair, because there's a serious need for repair and attitude adjustment. But that doesn't quite make sense. So it did pretty good on the first two, but in the end sort of broke down. Using that spread can be tricky in any case, but I think I would not use this deck for that. So now let's do something that's a little bit more of a free-for-all. Instead of doing a career thing, I could still read it as a career. Sure, I'll do that. I'm going to do a 9-card spread, but I'll try interpreting it as being appropriate for career. Just for the heck of it. And see, if you pull enough cards, you get enough freakiness coming out. So we're getting freakiness here. So we have freakiness right in the center. Of course, the devil is always on the freaky side, but this is not the only demonic carrot. Honey, if you watch this, I don't know how we got this far without a knife being in here. Let me see how far we have to go to find a knife. Well, I'm surprised. I can easily think of some of the disturbing knife cards. One of them is where the girl is chopping off the head of the carrot. But I'm not seeing any of them. It's a girl with a pin through her heart. I'm just kind of looking for things. It's a girl with a pin through her heart. That's pretty nasty. Of course, it is the Three of Swords, so what would you expect? Alright. I'm going to stop that endeavor because I'm not finding them. But I know they're in there. I can think of another one is the one where the knife is cutting into the skirt of the girls. Really. Alright, so we have the devil in the center. It's really hard for me to make this fit as anything to do with career. Totally not going on. I do see two lurking. We have two lurking cards. We have a lurking there with somebody around the corner of the house, which the girl seems completely unaware of. We have the lurking lizard there as the girl calmly reads. Somebody's looking over her shoulder. So yeah, this is turning out to be a little rough for this subject matter. This, for me, might be a deck where I do actually need to have questions that the card is directly relating to. Because even if I step back from the whole, if I let go of the idea that this was going to be a 9-card spread having to do with somebody's career, and just look at it as a 9-card spread, like a general. I'm having a hard time putting it together to make really any sense. I see things happening and then they kind of break up. It's like somebody's going to meet somebody, these two meeting each other. There's the lurker. This is preparing for the meeting. But again, it just ends up kind of being nothing. there seems to be, you know, a break in this relationship. It's like when you're unconscious. This could be seen because she's got her eyes closed and is unconscious. That again, that lurker energy is going on there in 3 different rows. But if you become aware of what's going on, then you are defensive. Or there could be something that has been going on that you become aware of and then kind of let them have it with this. And these again are apples coming out of her skirt that she's using to bombard the serpent thing, which nonetheless is, he says, you know, one of the creepy things, you know, she's bombarding it with apples and it seems angry, but it's still clinging to her, and its tail starts to go up her leg and up her skirt. And there seems to be something to protect in this Chariot card because she has a child with her. Yeah. And the bottom is like being in your own little world, maybe a dark little world. This is another, it's a cool moon card until you see the bird skeletons. It's like, why? Why? It's kind of like she's standing in a toxic pool that has killed everything else that's gotten into it. Alright, so I'm going to leave it at that. So again, for me, I would say it doesn't work so well without specific spread questions. But for the others, not so bad. Certainly the relationship one worked well, and so did the, you know, the self-knowledge spread worked quite well. So there you go. Anybody who's thinking about the Ceccoli Tarot, there's running it through a few different types of readings, spreads, and, you know, kind of an undefined spread. All right, everybody. Take care. Hope this helped. See you soon. Bye-bye.